Alright, so here I've got my CRF250X transmission opened up. This is a 2005, and I'm taking a look at the Kickstart gear, and I want to make sure that I got this thing right, because I don't think I had it right this last time. So let's take a look at this gear. If this thing will focus. Dang, alright, come on, focus. Okay, so here you go. This is the end that sits back into the case, and I assume that this little guy here, I don't know the technical name for this little guy here, but this is what allows you to, when you kickstart it, it rotates this way, so the teeth allow this to slip out, and then this back piece here binds on a little plate in the case. I'll show you in a second. But there's a spring that goes in here. This just, dang, what's this gonna do? This just slides on here, so that's pretty simple. No way you can really mess that up. And then the spring goes on here, like so. And what I think that you have to watch out for, I think, when you take the case off, is this is the actual spring that returns the kickstand lever back up after you kick it down. And we have to make sure that we get this little pin in to this hole here at the back of this kickstand gear. There's a little sleeve that goes inside the spring that slides up on here, and it fits fairly snug. It's a little bit loose on this back part of the shaft up against this gear, and you can see there's the hole. And so the spring has to go into the hole, the little tip, and this little thick, I don't know, washer with the cutout in it has to slide up inside underneath, between the spring and the this shaft. So let me take a look at that. Alright, so here we go, right? Let's see if you can even see the damn thing. Alright, so there it is. Alright, there's the hole in there. Right? And then that holds it in place. Doesn't want to rotate because it's in there. Now I want to put this spacer in here and make sure that it falls. It's hard to see this. Make sure that it falls all the way down onto the shaft. Oops, let's see again, right there. Okay, you can see it's all the way on. The spring is all the way in. Alright, so now I'm going to go down here and take a look at the actual bike that fits in there. Alright, here's a good view of where the Kickstart gear fits into here. And I think this again is a stop. Just make sure that it can't come any more forward, I believe. And here's the gear up close. And I'm going to go ahead and slide this back in and see if I can get this all aligned. Okay, so when you first put this in here, and you go to slide this in, you need to make sure that this little lever, this little pointy part, is rotated forward until it stops inside in here. And so I'm going to rotate it to the right, and I heard it click and I see that it stopped in there. So now I know that's all the way engaged right there. So now I'm going to set the this spring right there. Part of the gear is rotated forward until it stops inside in here. And so I'm going to rotate it to the right, and I heard it click and I see that it stopped in there. So now I know that's all the way engaged right there. So now I'm going to set the this spring right there. Do that. It sits up here. There it is. Okay. Oops, keep it in there. Here is where it sits naturally. If the gear's installed properly, you notice that the spring, that this arm is over here out to the left of the case. If the spring is already over here, if it's somewhere over here, it's either bent, you probably need to replace it, or this isn't installed correctly. Because see, if you're on this hole here, this back hole, the spring sits over here. To the outside of the case. So now we got to apply tension to it and rotate the spring around and get that end of it, oops, into this hole over here. Now I'm going to have to take I have to use both hands to do this, so I'm going to have to put the camera down. But again, make sure this washer's in here all the way seated back in there, because it sort of supports the spring a little bit. It's a little bit loose, so it can move around. But this is sort of tricky because you've got to get this spring tensioned. You've got to twist it around and get it in that hole before you can put the cover back on. Okay, so that's on it. Click it around. Get it in the hole. That looks beautiful. Okay, there it is installed. So you can see that this is over here to the left, that this pin is inserted into the shaft. The shaft has got the hole over here to the left. I have this tensioned and the spring pulled back around into the hole, and it's holding itself here nice and tight. And it is ready to go, ready to put the cover back on. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. One thing I guess I could say is that there's a washer that goes on the outside of this. So yeah, there's a little washer here. You need to make sure that that stays on here. Sometimes that just falls out when you take your cover off and you wonder where it came from. And then also there's a little copper washer right here. This needs to go on the shaft of the water pump right here. You need to make sure you get that on there. Just leave it there, and if you line it all up correctly, then all this should go right back on. That's what I'm going to do right now. Pretty simple. Just do it. Get the line back up. There's a sleeve on this pin over here. So just to get this line back up, you got to make sure you get the shaft, the water pump shaft lined up. Get that started first. Get the kickstand shaft started through the case, and then when you get in a little bit closer, there's some sleeves on here through the cover into the case that help you get this lined up. Let's see here. Oh God, I'm not sure this water pump. I have to twist it properly. Oh, great. I got to get this gear lined up with the internal one. Not letting that pop out. There it is. Got it. Okay. So you got to keep that cover square and keep it, as you're starting to bring it in close, you want to be turning this pump a little bit because there's teeth on it that have to line up with that water pump driver gear inside in here. So you got to make sure that that stays lined up. And I've got it all the way in. That's ready to go. Ready to put the bolts back in. Oh, this one's longer. Okay, one of these bolts is longer. Out of all the cover bolts around here, the water pump bolts are unique, fairly unique. One of them has a copper washer on it, and that's for the drain on the water pump. It's the lower bolt right here. That one's unique, so make sure you don't mix that up. There's a super long one that goes to the water pump. That's different. And then for the cover, they are all the same size except for one. And this longer one goes right here in the top. As you can see, the case is actually, or the cover is actually thicker right here. That's the one unique bolt. Otherwise, all these are the same. I'm just barely going to get these in here. I'm not trying to tighten them in a new way. Just want to get a little bit of, teeny bit of pressure on here. Oh, I should check that too while we're here before I put this back on, before I fill it. Okay, those are all have a little bit of torque on them. That's probably good. Yeah, I want to check this now. Is the Kickstarter and Kickstarter bolt. And if this is all the way forward, we want to make sure that when we put this on, that with it all the way forward, with that gear rotated all the way clockwise, and when we slide this guy on, that he is straight up and down here, and that this arm is sticking out pretty much, you know, like as a 90 out of this off this shaft. Zoom out a little bit. Okay. Yeah, so you want to make sure again that that gear's rotated all the way clockwise, and that when you put this Kickstarter on, that you don't set it, you don't want to put the Kickstarter on at some angle like this. The shaft needs to be all the way as far as it'll go locked clockwise, and then you want to put this Kickstarter on probably around where this is going to be straight up and down right here with the lever kicked out. Straight up and down on the bike like this. You don't want to set it somewhere out here. That'll make it harder for you to kickstart it, and then it's going to hit on your exhaust and all kinds of stuff. So you want to set this about a 90. And this looks like this is going to work. These don't have to be too tight. I'm not using a torque wrench. I hardly ever do unless it's inside the engine. For valve covers and stuff like that, you'll figure it out over time, but alright, let's see. Good, good, good. That's it. That's all she wrote. Right? After that, put the water pump on, fill it back up. So for the water pump, can you see this? There's a, I've got a clamp on here. I've got a waterline clamp. These are totally awesome. Save you all kinds of fluid when you work on your cars, your motorcycles, whatever. They allow you to crimp the line off and save all your fluid. I suggest you get a pair, get a set. Alright, I'm going to take this clamp off.